I want to start, does the new era of college football require fans and media to adjust their expectations for the programs they follow? The theory is that teams can't stockpile talent anymore. So the idea of a team just being 12-0 every year, that's going to be challenged. The idea of, well, we'll never fall back to 8-4, that's going to be challenged in this new environment. The other part of this is the transfer portal and player movement means you can't just create a stable program anymore. Everybody's just basically building a yearly team. Okay, so you throw all that together. Does that change the landscape to the point where fans have to have a new view, a new reality of what's coming and what their acceptable record is? I bring all this up because Josh Pate, who does YouTube football and it's all over the place, he stopped in with 104.5 The Zone this week, and they asked him about Josh Heupel and hot seat talk if Heupel doesn't have a great year. Here's what he said.
We talked about this like a month ago on the show. Someone had asked me some version of this, some version of is there going to be heat on Josh Heupel if they go 8-4? And look, so there's an entire reset that all of college football has to do, not just Tennessee. Understanding what 9-3 means or 8-4 means today versus just 3 years ago, just 4 years ago. Secondly, if you're Tennessee and you're above the age of like 15, you also have to have the wherewithal about yourself to understand you were in the wilderness for a long time, and that guy brought you back. And so he did what a lot of others like sold you on the promise of but never delivered on. And now you've beaten Alabama a couple of times. You're in the playoff last year. You could do the whole but they got blown out. They were in it. They were in the playoff. And so like there's the whole what if they only go 8-4? Well, then they go 8-4 and Heupel's still a really good head coach. That's the answer to the what if.
Okay, first of all, none of the big boy SEC programs, fan bases, are ever going to accept 8-4. So that part of the question, I nuke that because they're not going to do it. Josh, should they do it? Is this going to be closer to the NFL where teams rise and fall every year, closer to the NFL where the worst team can beat the best team on occasion? You saw it last year with Vanderbilt knocking off Alabama. Nobody expected that. Arkansas beats Tennessee. You see Georgia had a couple of losses. I mean, are we heading toward a new year, a new era of parity, or are you not buying that?
Well, I don't think we're headed toward a big era of parity for the championship. I don't think we're going to go in and say, I think 10 or 12 teams can win the national championship. That's not going to happen. It's still going to be 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 teams, and then who has some injury luck, who has a better schedule. That will still come to it. But I think we'll see a lot of 8-4s and 9-3s. I think we'll see a lot of that. And it can again come back to schedule. Is your roster a little bit better? Do you avoid some injuries? Tennessee last year benefited from a more favorable schedule in the SEC. That got them to 10-2, and then Bama let one get away against Oklahoma. They fall back to 9-3. Alabama's not going to stockpile talent like they did under Nick Saban. I don't think Kirby Smart is going to have a roster like he did 2 or 3 years ago where the third string is filled with 5-star, 4-star guys that can just roll in. Look at Tennessee last year. They lost guys in the portal to Vanderbilt, to Mississippi State, guys that would be quality depth pieces that can go start at lower tier SEC schools. Holding on to those guys is just going to be more challenging for everybody.
There'll be more parity. Isn't Michigan a pretty good example?
Yes.
They win a national championship, and then the next year they're close to 8-4, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're going to see more of that. Will the fans adjust to that? No. It'll take them a while. But we're going to see more of that parity in terms of the Vanderbilts beating the Alabamas because, as Josh pointed out, you're losing some depth, okay?
Yeah.
And then if you have an injury at a particular position, that's going to hurt your depth and your quality of play even more. So there will be greater parity. Fans will not adjust to it. At least it'll take them at least a decade.
Yeah, I mean,
I
think you may adjust to it and see it in somebody else's program. Well, that's how football is now.
Yeah.
But when it's your program going 8-4, it'll still be. We need to fire this clown. He's not the guy.
Yeah.
Tyler, is it time for folks to adjust their expectations or no?
No, a little bit of Josh, a little bit of Jimmy there. I believe there will be more parity, but at the end of the day, you're probably only looking at about 5 or 6 teams realistically who can win the national championship. I know this is a little bit of now what July 1 and what the House settlement and how much money and trying to get everything balanced out, but there's still going to be the bagmen out there. There's still going to be people with the ability to get more money to more players. So I think the heavyweights of our world, the Texases, the Georgias, the Michigans, Ohio States, they're still going to be up there in January playing for the College Football National Championship. But I think you're going to see more of these middle of the road, these tier 2 teams. One year have a 9-3, 10-2 year, and very easily, as you pointed out with Michigan, slip to 8-4, 7-5, and then got to like to see it a little hotter, and then they're back to normal. But yeah, there's going to be more fluctuation to this parity that's coming up in college football.
Well, because of that theory of the bagman, and money always seems to be the answer for a lot of fans.
Yes.
Well, why aren't we paying more than any other school to get a coach or to get this player? Because of that, the expectations will not drop. They should, and you guys laid out a lot of great reasons. And I also think some of the rules that they're trying to get to is for more balance. But I think you shouldn't hold your breath waiting for fans to adjust, especially the fans in SEC schools like Tennessee. Tennessee is not in that competing for national championships every year group that's been doing it for a while. So because of that, I think there will be more of the fluctuation and more of that parity that will hit them, as long as it doesn't bottom out. Bottom out, then that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I just think that it is going to take a long time, maybe more than a decade, before fans ever look at it. See, I look at it 8-4 this year, when you've lost your quarterback in the middle of the spring or end of spring, not even the middle of spring. It's worse. You lost him at the end of spring. You've lost a ton of players to the pros. You've got question marks everywhere. I see this as a reset year anyway, but there are a lot of folks who don't believe in those, don't accept those, and I'm sure even though they just won a national championship, there were people that weren't happy in Michigan. Go back to Philip Fulmer winning the national championship in '98. Now, famously, you took a phone call from somebody who was complaining about recruiting 2 months later. Yeah. So I think that's part of it. But it is a different landscape. How much parity are we going to see? So you're saying there's still going to be the big boys are going to compete for titles. We're not looking at an NFL situation. We're literally there's a one-player difference on a lot of these teams, and it's the quarterback. I mean, you take Pat Mahomes off the best team and put him on the worst team, you might see a flip-flop in terms of 3-4 wins. You're not going to get to that level of parity. Yeah. But how often? I mean, is this the fact that we're starting a yearly deal, is it just kind of you don't know what you're going to get year to year instead of a program that's building for the future? I'm talking about, well, you lost some guys, this is not your year. Does that mean we should stop looking at teams and saying, well, next year they're building toward this, because you just don't have any idea what the landscape's going to be? People can leave. Is it literally just staring at 1 year at a time?
No, I think it's going to be more fluctuation in the 10 to 25 range.
Right.
As opposed to 1 through 5. Yeah. Because Ohio State and Texas are still going to have advantages against most schools in the country. The head coach is going to matter too. Nick Saban steps away from Alabama. They might step back. They're recruiting really well. We'll get to some of that too. But yeah. I think it's going to be more of the teams that can jump up to 10-2, but can more easily fall back to 8-4, even 7-5. A funny thing though is that the playoff, if it expands, there's a belief it's going to expand to 16, right? If you can get to 9-3, it creates this false optimism. Mm-hmm. Because if you're a 9-3 team, like last year, if Ole Miss or South Carolina or Alabama or Miami had made the playoff, none of those teams were winning the national championship. But they would have gone to the playoff thinking, hey, we got a shot to go win the national title. No, you wouldn't have.
Well, they'll take a look at an Ohio State who had 2 losses and say, why not us with 3 losses?
Sure, yeah.
So, but Ohio State just happened to have the best roster, and they played, they lost 2 games they shouldn't have.
Exactly right. So you might actually find some false optimism and excitement for fans who can get into that middle window and just get into the playoff if they can get above that 8-4 mark.
I agree with that. And piggybacking off of that, I think that adjusts with so many more teams, 16-team playoff when we go to it, and then if they have these play-in games, which basically expands it even more, everyone has a chance. Adjusting the expectations goes to the universities as well, because now the coaches will say, we're competing for a college football playoff spot. So that's where some of the adjustment is.
I just wonder if it's time to adjust too, and I wasn't clear in my question, my apologies. Is it time to adjust? We know that the age of building a strong program and everything moves in like shark teeth is gone. Are people ready for that?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they're ready. That it's just a yearly
Rest in
enterprise.
peace to your email in about 55 days if things struggle in Syracuse or in Atlanta against Syracuse. If Tennessee loses the SEC opener against Georgia. Jimmy, I don't know where you are on this, but much to Josh's point, it's the tier 2. It's the 25 ranked through 12 teams who they might be fighting for those spots eventually 16 through 6.
And isn't that where Tennessee is?
Yes.
Yeah.
But realistically, they're not part of the Michigans, the Ohio States, the Oregons, the Texases. Those pockets are just deeper because of what they can do and what they will continue to be able to do. It's just those are the facts, right?
Well, I also think they got an advantage because they're one. It's easier to maintain it if you're there now.
Exactly.
Look, at Alabama just 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. Nick Saban's gone, but people still look at it and go, Alabama will get me to the pros. And that's a big deal because Alabama does not have huge NIL pockets. They are not one of the bigger spenders. I'll let you finish.
I would expand, in my opinion, the teams that are potential national championship teams. Because I do think, I can't rule out Clemson because they got
Somebody gets on a hot
great
run.
quarterback. Yeah. I'd go 10 or 12 that I think could do it in a given year. And that's based on you you offering more money to some player that, tampering.
How
Yes,
dare you?
So I can see some of that going on. So I would go a little bit. Washington a few years ago was playing for it, and nobody thought they would be that good that particular year.
TCU.
Yeah. So I would go 10 or 12 as a potential.
Okay.